Some women do not chase. Yet they are never forgotten. Their absence lingers like incense in a room long after the flame has died. They do not raise their voices. Yet the silence they leave behind echoes louder than any word ever could. Carl Jung once wrote that what we do not make conscious will return as fate. And for the empath, the woman who mistakes pain for purpose, her fate often arrives dressed in the mask of love. Studio microphone setup, the archetypal woman and the man's shadow. She appears in his life as though conjured from the depths of his own unconscious. The gentle mirror to his storm. The balm to his restless hunger. To him, she is radiant. But to herself, she is already weary. For she carries within her the unspoken weight of generations. The duty to heal, to hold, to understand. And so she loves him not because he is whole, but because she feels the wound in him so acutely. It feels like her own. In Jungian terms, she becomes the vessel for his shadow, absorbing what he cannot bear to face, turning his chaos into her responsibility. Studio microphone first turning point, the confusion of pain with purpose. Somewhere deep inside, the empath begins to confuse his cruelty for destiny. She tells herself, "This is not pain, this is growth. This is not rejection, this is transformation." It is the alchemy of self-deception. The same deception that chains her to men who feed upon her light. Here Jung meets the Stoics. The Stoic would say, pain is not to be feared, but to be understood. Yet the empath misreads this wisdom, making herself the battlefield, believing that enduring torment is proof of strength. But strength that is constantly bleeding ceases to be strength at all. Studio microphone second turning point, the anima and animus dance. Unconsciously, the man projects his own anima, the feminine soul image, onto her. He expects her to carry his longing, his softness, and then punishes her for embodying what he has repressed. She becomes both his goddess and his scapegoat, the flame he worships and the shadow he despises. And she, in her devotion, accepts the role, because she believes her purpose is to save him. But this is not love. This is the seduction of trauma, the repetition of an old wound. In truth, she is not healing him. She is reenacting her own childhood bargain, where affection was earned through sacrifice, and self-worth was measured by suffering. Third turning point, the awakening of shadow work. There comes a night when silence presses against her chest. The arguments blur together, the apologies lose their meaning. And suddenly she sees it. She has mistaken her pain for purpose. Shadow work begins when she dares to name it. When she whispers to herself in the dark, "This ache is not destiny. This ache is not love. This ache is a mirror, showing me the parts of myself I refuse to see." Jung reminds us, until the unconscious is made conscious, it will direct our lives and we will call it fate. Her fate is shifting, for awareness has cracked the glass. Studio microphone empowerment through detachment. She learns the art of detachment, not as indifference, but as sovereignty. Detachment says, "I am not abandoning you, I am returning to myself." It is the quiet revolution of a woman who no longer bleeds for validation. The Stoics would call this freedom from externals. Trauma psychology would call it breaking the cycle. Jung would call it individuation. The sacred journey of becoming whole within herself, without depending on the fragments of another. Studio microphone climax, liberation archetype. And suddenly, her silence frightens him. The man who once fed upon her empathy now feels starved by her stillness. He cannot project upon her anymore. He cannot own her anymore. For she is no longer a mirror, she is a flame. He remembers her not because she stayed, but because she walked away with the kind of grace that cannot be contained or controlled. Studio microphone closing liberation line. The woman who walks away in silence isn't weak. She simply sees more. And in seeing more, she is finally free.